And there it is. There it is.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. The banter, we're going to have to figure out this banter thing. Because coming straight out of the intro, I feel like there's a good, that's a good clean break. But I miss the banter.
And it's also serious right from the beginning. We're just like, hello.
Hello.
You've waited. It's like a rocket taking off, where they all count down in Houston and nobody's bantering as the rocket goes into the air. That's what.
No, but people are making fun of them that blow up. It was pretty savage. I saw some savage stuff against SpaceX. Rockets blow up, and it was nasty.
Thankfully, there aren't people in those.
Yeah, I know. I mean, hey, welcome to how it works. You got to experiment and then see what it is.
That's what I've always wondered about roller coasters.
Who takes this on?
Right, because there had to be a certain amount of death that went on when they were like, let's try this roller coaster thing, and people, I guarantee that it would go wrong and people would die. Yet there were still people out there that was like, let's try again. I mean, the biggest you got test pilots. Someone's got to do it. Yeah. Someone's got to be like, sign me up. I'll try. I'll get in that thing. Pretty good compensation.
Is there a seatbelt?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get paid $500,000 for an hour? Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no one's paying us $500,000 for this 45 minutes that you get, which is why we don't have banter at the beginning. We can't accommodate both of these things. But nonetheless, we are here.
Wait, you didn't get the letter from Monsanto? I'm pro-GMO now. They
you got a sponsorship?
Yeah, I got a personal sponsorship. Yeah.
What gives, Monsanto? Bayer, come on, choke it up here. We'll eat corn. We'll eat corn on the cob live on the show just for you. Welcome. It's Thursday. It's noon, and it is unauthorized digression caucus. Unauthorized caucus. No, we are glad to be back with you. We got a good one, and actually, we're going to dovetail a little bit off of last week. We got some stuff to talk about, and I had this queued up, so this is not necessarily something that's happened since last week, like Super Smash Tuesday, which did happen since the last time we spoke, but it goes a different direction, and I think it dovetails perfectly into Super Tuesday results, so it gave us a perfect launch point to have a different, similar, but next level conversation today, so that's what we're back to do. But before we do that, don't forget, for all of the goodies, head over to unauthorizedcaucus.com. That is where you will find the podcast of this show if you want to listen to it. That's where you'll find all the past archives. And also you can sign up for the email list to make sure you get the redacted email with all of our resources when we're done. And also, while you're here watching, make sure you hit the subscribe button, whether it's big green, big red, whatever it is, and the notifications bell if you're on YouTube. And then hit the like, share, and subscribe button everywhere. Like and share and comment. Jump into the chat. Let us know you're here. Sound off today, and then send the link to a friend and tell them to watch. Because these two crazy guys at lunchtime keep talking about Christian nationalism and all the stuff that MSNBC is just petrified of. We're going to talk about it and sort it out.
And we greatly appreciate likes and comments because that helps us spread to other people. The algorithm gods that control social media today look very fondly upon Unauthorized Caucus when those like numbers go up.
Smash the algorithm. Smash the Marxists with their own algorithm. That's what we get to do. So punch a Marxist, hit the like button today. We'll figure it out somehow.
So true.
Yeah, it's true. At least figuratively, you'll punch a Marxist. You know what I mean? Anyway, not advocating for violence. YouTube, calm down. Not advocating for violence. But that's it. We've got a very interesting topic today, and I want to kick it off. We're going to watch a video together here. Hopefully this works, because again, we're trying a bunch of new things. Thank you everyone for bearing with us. But we're going to watch a video. We've got a clip that came on our favorite program, Morning Joe. What did Ed used to say this on his program? I watch Morning Joe, so you don't have to. I have a clip from Morning Joe that's only 1 minute and 20 seconds long. If you can hang on, you never have to watch Morning Joe again, at least for another week until possibly I make you do it again. But let's talk about this. So dovetailing off of our Christian nationalist conversation, a new book was released from two very, I think they think they're austere, two very self-austere authors who have a very politically poignant point to make this year.
Wow.
Sorry, all my alliteration
You're
is
a
coming
wordsmith.
I'm a Baptist pastor's kid, man. The alliterations just keep coming. Like, you got it. Anyway, let's watch this together, and then we're going to dive off. They have a big point that they think they're going to make, and I think they're, interesting. So let's watch, shall we?
Joining us now, Professor of Political Science at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, Tom Schaller, and journalist and opinion writer Paul Waldman. Their new book, out tomorrow, is entitled White rural rage, the threat to American democracy. And Tom, we'll start with you. Why are white rural voters a threat to democracy at this point? You would think, as we pointed out, looking at Joe Biden's background and Donald Trump's, that the opposite would be true.
I mean, we lay out the fourfold interconnected threat that white rural voters pose to the country. First of all, and we show 30 polls and national studies to demonstrate this, so we provide the receipts in Chapter 6. They're the most racist, xenophobic, anti-immigrant, and anti-gay geodemographic group in the country. Second, they're the most conspiracist group. QAnon support and subscribers, election denialism, COVID denialism and scientific skepticism, Obama birtherism. Third, anti-democratic sentiments. They don't believe in an independent press, free speech. They're most likely to say the president should be able to act unilaterally without any checks from Congress or the courts or the bureaucracy. They're also the most strongly white nationalist and white Christian nationalists. And fourth, they are most likely to excuse or justify violence as an acceptable alternative to peaceful public discourse.
So you mentioned a lot of negative factors about this demographic.
Did you know that you're full of rage and that you're rural? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
If that's not the sour cream calling the ranch white, full of rural or full of racist rage. So, wow.
These guys, just by looking at them, they need to visit a testosterone clinic promptly. Promptly.
Okay. All right. Calm down, Tate. Chill. No, but seriously, this is definitely, I mean, here on the screen, full display, is the epitome of the ivory tower of the Leviathan. If we can just start, we'll just start throwing them all in there. The ivory tower, the big academia, the Leviathan being the machine itself. Anyway,
the octopus, the cathedral. There's tons of good names for
the
it.
cathedral. That's one of my favorites. Yeah. Man, this is just, and the seriousness and somberness with which they deliver this. These are the most racist, xenophobic voters in the country. And this sounds a lot like, there's a segment that I didn't pull up because it makes me angry and I don't want to watch it again, but there's a segment from 2020. Rick Wilson, you know that name, one of the Lincoln Project guys. Rick Wilson is a crazy person. Really, he is. And he went on to Don Lemon's former show. And they had a very similar conversation in 2020. And that conversation basically, it was just something along the same lines. They were talking about how, all the Trump supporters were just, the knuckle draggers. And, he pointed out that Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if it had a U and a crane next to it. And then they're like, but all the Trump supporters say that, oh, it's you elites that are dumb. Donald Trump's the smart one. And they proceeded to mock with fake Southern voices all of everyone in the country that supported Donald Trump. 80 million people. And that got played back to back with Hillary Clinton's deplorables comment over and over and over again. And here we are back to the new intellectuals from the cathedral, from the ivory tower, looking down upon the racist, rural, white rage.
The contempt that these people have for heritage Americans cannot be understated. These are deeply, deeply hateful and resentful people.
And what this is the, and okay, so here's what we want to talk about. So last week we kind of wrapped up the Christian nationalism conversation. What they're describing is just, the Declaration of Independence in America. Yeah, I agree. If that's what you mean by Christian nationalism, sign me up. However, you're creating this fake name, this fake boogeyman that doesn't exist. Here, we are literally sectioning off and dividing and creating they are creating extremists out of these people, but they're painting them as extremists, but they're pointing at normal people who say, yeah, don't sexualize my kids. And also that's wrong, and this doesn't work fiscally, and that doesn't work socially, and that's kind of weird, and well, that's just broken, and I don't even have to go to church every Sunday to know that's wrong. Like this normal, traditional, collective sense of morality that society has, they are literally wrapping that up into some sort of new, this is the beginning of propaganda. This is what it looks like. This is the most Orwellian thing I can possibly think of, where you just start to call this section of normal people names. And you've created this enemy. And I mean, welcome to why the cities actually do fear people that don't live in the cities and think like they do. People listen to this. this is the division of America happening right here. It's absolutely incredible. And even though I think these two guys are nuts, I obviously do not harbor the same hostility towards them that they do to me. We're watching the beginning of propaganda striking up a new chord. I mean, I say new, but like I said, this harkens back to 2020, 2016, but this is the 2024 version of it, and it's more extreme than we've seen before. It's really pretty shocking.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's even if all of the names that they used for white rural Americans, all these names that they called them, were correct, it kind of points to a fundamental flaw in at least their presentation of the way democracy works. Because even if the majority of these white rural Americans that are rageful and xenophobic and racist and all these things, even if they were all those things, a democracy means that the government should reflect their will. You know, but that's not the point. Like, they don't actually care about democracy, and they know that they are not being genuine in their appraisal of these people. Like Ryan says, it is just blatant propaganda. They want to completely demonize these people, and I think it points to kind of a dangerous situation we're in this country, where dialogue is no longer possible. You know, you can no longer sit down with one of these people, one of those you know, ocularly challenged, they're both wearing glasses, you know, ivory tower dudes.
Pardon me.
You can no longer sit down next to one of them and be like, okay, well, here is why I think these things, because they will immediately put you in boxes, and they will go on the offense against you. They will try to ruin your life. They will try to get rid of your bank account. They will try to make sure you can never even touch the Uber app again. They will do this and that, and they go on the offense, which, you know, which is a good political strategy if you've got all these fanatics.
Yeah.
You know, if you can weaponize your fanatics against people, that's going to be helpful for your goals.
And see, this is the really interesting thing, is that you know, this so this fomenting and radicalization that they're doing, which by the way, as I see over here on Rumble, someone says, you know, the two old white men telling us that rural white people are full of rage. I think it's them we're not supposed to listen to, right? It's true. It's a very self-defeating argument when they sit up there. This is, I mean, it's doublethink. This is the doublethink proposition. Oh, I'm saying this, but literally it's completely opposite of the reality that you know, and also the reality that's sitting in front of you, who is telling you this information. Anyway, it's the interesting thing around this, I think, is that it is seeping into, and we referenced it, so the 2021 we had Rick Wilson, the Lincoln Project. These are people who purport to be Republicans. And this is where I think the real crux is. It's not so much shocking that these crazy lefties would get up on Morning Joe and say this. What's very interesting is when people in the conservative realm latch on to this kind of, well, that's just, you know, the Trump wing is a radical. What radical? All 114 counties in the Missouri Caucus radical?
Right.
You know, all but one state. Thank you, Democrats, for giving Nikki Haley a plurality, in Vermont, not even a majority this past Super Tuesday. I mean, you look at the Super Tuesday results. Supposedly, this most hated, vile, wicked man in America, who has just this ridiculously small extremist following, is cleaning the clock of every single. He is being treated as the incumbent, the all-powerful incumbent, and everyone is just sweeping away. And it's not like, oh, well, no one's bothering to show up because it's just the incumbent. So no, these are record numbers that are being delivered in primaries and caucuses for Donald Trump. This is an incredibly popular man. This is an incredibly popular message. And yet, there are still those on the conservative side who kind of trend toward this old school, well, I wouldn't call them the elites, but they're falling for the elite line. They're blinded or a part of the system who are falling prey to some of this fear-mongering. So it's not surprising that the two guys up on MSNBC are getting up and saying this. What really disturbs me is that this is kind of the crux of the fork in the road we find ourselves in the conservative movement. And there are a lot of people who are being scared or affected or changed by this propaganda. And it's really time to say, no, this is the fight. And this is what disappointed me so much. I'm sorry, I don't mean to monopolize. I'm hot to trot about this, though.
No, you're going.
But, like, this is what disappointed me so much about Ron DeSantis in the CNN town hall and in the debates. Because Ron DeSantis, who did a very good job messaging against leftist principles and wokeism in Florida, all of a sudden started saying, well, we just need to move past Donald Trump. We just need to move. He's treating it as a distraction. And what he treats as a distraction, and I feel like I'm repeating myself from a past show here, but it bears repeating, what he was dismissing as a distraction is the main event. This fight against the establishment, the permanent state, the administrative state, the deep state, you call it what you want to. These people, these intellectual ivory tower elites who are fomenting this kind of propaganda and shoving it down people's throats and getting actually people in what I would call the conservative realm to buy some of it and move that direction, that is the fight. There is no other political fight to have in America, including abortion. One of the most important things, the dignity of human life, one of the most important values, in my opinion, at all. There is no more important fight until we save our system and rid it of these people.
Right.
And that starts with, I think, saving the conservative movement, the Republican Party, whatever identifier you want to put on. You read the Republican Party platform; it's good. I have a lot of Republicans I don't like, because I don't think they're Republicans, because they don't accurately represent the party platform, which I agree with. But it has to start there. We've got to upright the conservative movement, the Republican Party, and that's where our headline kind of comes in. I told Mason we're adopting him as a Protestant for the day because we're all
a political Protestant.
A political Protestant for the day because we're all Puritans now. No, but we need to be. I think that there is a movement of, for lack of a better term, reformation that needs to happen, though, and say, no, I'm not going to go somewhere else and make my own party. No, I don't want to go somewhere else and make my own country. No, I don't want there to be civil war and there's two different states. This is my belief system. This is my political party. This is my system, my republic. Get out. You do not represent anything that has to do with that. Even a different opinion inside that system. You want to destroy the system and replace it with utopian garbage, which is an oligarchy. You and all of the useful minions will be at the top, or think you're at the top. Like, get out. It is time for a serious purification of the conservative movement, Republican Party, and an understanding that this is the main fight. And even if Donald Trump is a flawed torchbearer, he is the torchbearer. Undeniably so. And I think the post-Mar-a-Lago raid world proves that he must be the torchbearer, and it's important. I'm done.
I don't know what I can even add to that. Yeah, no, you're on a roll. Yeah, it's these liberals, these ivory tower libtards, as I like to call them.
They're not liberals. I'm a liberal.
These
classical
leftists. It's not as much a fight over America, but it's a fight of America against non-America. Because, this week they're talking about white rural Americans. Just spatially speaking, that is the majority of America. The majority of America is white and rural. This might even be the population majority. I'm not totally sure. I haven't looked at the numbers. But regardless, like, you drive through America, you go to all the different states. Spatially, that's their area that you're going to be in the most. They own most of America, square footage-wise or square mileage-wise. Last week, we talked about how MSNBC thought the founding ideas of our country are dangerous, that the ideas in the Declaration of Independence are wrong and dangerous for this country, that they are completely un-American. And that is why they want the borders completely open. They do not care about the interests of Americans. They do not care about the interests of people whose families have been here for generations and generations. They do not care about the interests of people who have ancestors that fought and died in the Revolutionary War, and fought and died in the Civil War, and fought and died in World War I and World War II for the interests of this country, to protect our country from its enemies. Like, that is America. That is us. And not even just the people that fought in wars, but the people that built the infrastructure that has survived in this country and has made it the most prosperous country in human history. That is rural Americans working in manufacturing and farming. That is white rural Americans outside of the cities where people, do their email work and, do not work with their hands. Like, that is what makes America what it is. That is what keeps the supply chains alive. That's what allows the truckers to go back and forth. That's what keeps the ports working. That's what keeps the very limited, unfortunately, manufacturing that still exists in this country. They are who keep it going. So that's what America is. These people are not trying to fight for control of America. They're trying to fight to destroy America. And that is why they're privileging the needs and the privileges of foreigners who are flowing over our border day after day over the needs and the privileges and the rights that have been hard-earned of the American people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to the point you just brought up, this is interesting. I just popped onto census.gov because I'm kind of curious. When you're villainizing just this huge swath of people, and to your point, land mass, when you look at the makeup of the United States, it's not that individuals are weighted more importantly than others. But there's a difference. There has to be some sort of system where we balance and give weight to these different things, which is why we have giant states like Texas technically count for more in Congress and in the Electoral College, but they can't just steamroll teeny tiny states like Rhode Island, or big wide open states like Montana that hardly have any people in them. Each one of these places has some sort of value that it brings to the table, whether it's an industry or a people group or whatever it is. So yes, it has to do with population and size, but it also has to do with other factors. And we all have to kind of figure out a weighted system by which we, this is like a grading curve. This is not an unfamiliar concept. So sure enough, when you're going to just villainize white rural people are full of xenophobic hatred. Well, that's a real broad statement. Let's take a look. And it's interesting. The 2020 census says 331.5 million people in America. It lists, and this is interesting, there's two different figures here. It lists white alone, as far as race and origin, white alone, 75.5% of America. Now, if you check white alone, not Hispanic or Latino, it's down to 58.9%, but still, nearly 60% of the country, if not more like 70 or 75%, is what you're describing. If this were a problem, if these people were a problem, I think we would know.
Right.
I think something would be
Right.
off.
Well, I mean, that's us.
But it is. But it's you're describing this great problem, and yet you look around and there's no repercussions of this supposed rage. Like you're describing the peaceful areas where everyone gets along.
Right.
And not just white people get along with other white people. Like everyone gets along because everyone treats each other with respect. It's not like the cities where we have massive crime rates and these huge division lines and protests and anger and all kinds of stuff that comes. It is a huge section of the country demographically, population percentage-wise, and landmass-wise that we have just wholesale disregarded.
Right.
As the fomenting Neanderthalic masses that we must subjugate from our position of obvious, moral superiority.
Right.
This is pretty incredible. And this is not something to adopt. This is something to pick whoever the person is that will smash it with a hammer, because it's completely anti-American. And again, like this is a very interesting concept, because what it boils down to, I think this is again, we're kind of combining a couple different conversations I feel like we've had before, but to me this is another biggie, is that call them Marxists. Yeah, there's rhinos and globalists, but they all are Marxists. But the very interesting conversation to me is, hold on, train of thought. Nope, I lost it. Where did it go?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But the fact that this is seeping in to our side at all, the fact that, that's what it is. When you have this conversation about, inside the Republican Party, inside the conservative movement, this right wing, the pro-Donald Trump, anti-Donald Trump, the pro-America First, or Make America Great Again, I'll say anti-Make America Great Again. Oh, no, we don't do that. What it boils down to really is not necessarily that we even have a difference of values. It's a difference of understanding of where we are, how bad things have gotten here, how badly bloated our executive branch has become. It really kind of boils down to, do you really actually see the deep state as being the biggest threat to America or not? Because if not, I can see where you would think that, Donald Trump's just too much of a wild hair. We need to go a different direction.
These people like the deep state. They like to fit in with that.
Some of them do. Some don't. Some people, I think, just pure and simple don't. Do you really think that everyone who denies the Donald Trump Make America Great Again, America First movement, do you think that all of them just want to be a part of the deep state and they like it? Or do you think some of them are just completely plugged in and don't even understand what's going on?
No, I think they want to be a part of the deep state and its tendrils. They want to be part of this like polite society that the deep state is the core and protector of. They have this desire for approval from the elites in America. Then they want to go to the parties with all the journalists and the New York Times people, the Capitol Hill people and the managers of this or that bureaucracy. They want to go to those kinds of things. They want to fit in with that.
See, I don't know. I actually don't agree with that, because I think that and maybe we haven't honed in on the terms yet, but there are, I think, a ton of people who are just completely, I mean, it's like the Matrix. They are so plugged in to their little world and their little system that they don't even see what's going on. They still think that it's 30 years ago America, and they do not see, well, it's not 30 years. It's been growing much larger than that. We could go all the way back, 100 plus years to find the tentacles of the Leviathan growing. But I mean, well, since the beginning, like right after we established the Constitution, forces started going to corrupt it. Let's be abundantly clear. That's been happening for a long time. But I think there are a lot of people who just completely don't get it. They don't see that. They are completely blissfully ignorant of the fact that there exists, that exists, and they are just enjoying their lives. They're moving along. They don't see it as that big of a deal. So Donald Trump really does look, your reaction to a deep state and Donald Trump really does seem pretty extreme to them. And it's not that they want to be a part of that system or they know what the system is and approve of it. They really are just hopelessly lost. Now,
I think we might be talking about different people.
I think so too, and that's the thing. I think there are different people. Yes, there are some who just want to be a part of it.
Right.
I mean, there's the Nikki Haley's of the world. Nikki Haley is not stupid.
Right.
She knows what's going on. She's bought and paid for by someone. Like I saw the Babylon Bee. Raytheon and Boeing lowered the flags to half-mast this week in honor of Nikki Haley's dropping out of the presidential race. I mean, she is attached to people and has motives that we will not probably ever hear publicly come out of her mouth, and yet she's not stupid. She's not ignorant. But there are other people I know who are. I'm not insulting them, and I'm not saying that they're evil. They are just hopelessly lost and do not realize that they're plugged in. And it's like, what do I need to do to smack you out of this stupor?
Right.
So that I do feel like there are two different ones. So I mean, I'm talking maybe about different people than you're talking about.
Right. I mean, I feel like I'm talking about, the strivers, the people, they might not think in terms of deep state and stuff like that, but they generally like the left-wing domination of our government and like the status quo, which I see as different than, like suburban families who may like Romney, but they were like, oh, this Trump guy is kind of out there, I think that's the difference of what they're talking about, because I don't think those people have much of a political consciousness, which they can't really be blamed for, because it's healthy, well-functioning republic. You don't need everybody to be super politically engaged. I wish that was the situation we were in,
right?
Where where voting wasn't a life or death issue for this country,
right? Which is what that's where we've come down to. If more of us would do it more often, then we wouldn't be in this kind of situation.
But to answer your question of what snaps these people out of it, they just need to be shown what's going on. When they see, like, okay, these people are openly hostile towards your interests, like you middle class people that kind of just like the situation going on, and you're like, oh, those Trump MAGA people, those are conspiracy theorists and rural hicks, and I don't want to be like them, even though I'm a lifelong Republican voter. I think it's just more decent to vote for Biden this time around. Like what needs to snap them out of it is when they, and what will snap them out of it is seeing it on their front door. Seeing immigrants in their neighborhoods, like here in St. Louis. What's his name? Mark McCluskey, the lawyer. That as far as I know, that guy's background was maybe not super liberal, but definitely at least a little bit left-leaning.
It's fairly non-political for the most part.
Yeah, but non-political these days pretty much means like, oh, okay, I'm going to go along with the flow, and the flow was going left. But when the hordes of Mordor, the orcs, came into his neighborhood, and he had to stand there on his front porch and be ready to defend himself. It's like that's when you see that like these people are a threat to your way of life. Even if you vote hardcore for bail reform and for mandatory minimums, and you put the black square on Instagram for the BLM Blackout Tuesday, back in 2020. Even if you do all of these things, these. You're not going to be spared because you have things. Because you're not going to be spared because you don't look like them. If you're white, you're not going to be spared. And that's even true for the true believer leftists. Because we keep seeing clips of these like inner city leftists that are white Antifa liberals, always skinny and have a girlfriend with dyed hair and a bunch of piercings, and they work hard for their community organizing, and they want to get those liberal goals, and the kind of people that set up something like Chaz in 2020. It's like they're not spared either. They just get stabbed on the streets. I remember one guy that just got, this was a couple months ago, but the video was out on Twitter. you know, he works hard for BLM interests, and then like randomly at 2 a.m. one night, he just gets stabbed on the street. Like, you will not be spared. There is no amount of good that you can do that will make the Eye of Sauron smile at you and be like, okay, sounds good. I mean, it's a perfect analogy. Like what the guy, the overseer of the city in Lord of the Rings. I forgot what the city was.
Oh, Denethor, the Steward of Gondor.
Yeah, Denethor, Steward of Gondor. It's like he is a go with the flow kind of guy that was just kind of hands off. The Eye of Sauron wasn't going to be like, okay, Denethor, I'll spare you. No, he was going to get fed to the orcs like everybody else. You know,
Total destruction.
Even though he was along with the flow, and even if he was, oh, I'll open the gates, he was just going to get eaten up like everybody else.
Yeah. No, it's. I'm not even going to go down that path of Lord of the Rings analogies. You just opened a gateway that I'm not willing to step in because I know my nerdiness knows no bounds, and we won't come back. So we're going to stop now. But see, that's an interesting question to me. You describe an epiphany there, an epiphany moment for Mark McCloskey. And that is, to me, that is a convincing epiphany moment where someone goes, nope, I'm done. I have had my limit. I'm a conservative now.
Right.
And it's kind of like, good. You're going to have to figure out what that means in all these other different areas before I count you as understanding pro-life and this and that. Why not, someone says. Yes, why not? Lord of the Rings all the time. Thank you. But this Love Horses says, why not? Go. No, we'll do that. We'll do a Lord of the Rings special some night. And you and I will sit in here, we'll dim the lights, and we'll just go Tolkien all the way.
That'd be fun.
But I could do that. We could have a watch party. That would probably break some copyright laws.
And it would be really long.
I would do it, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mark McCloskey has a very convincing epiphany moment. Tucker Carlson has talked about that for he's always been conservative, but on this whole, the real understanding of the deep state, we like that idea. Love Horses says yes. We got a lot of applause for that line. Tolkien the Watch Party. He describes his epiphany moment as the Mar-a-Lago raid, where he was like, yeah, okay, it's time to move past. I think he said this several times in different interviews, different things. It's time to move past it. Trump's kind of maybe damaged goods now. Let's move on. And then they raided Mar-a-Lago, and he says, no, that's it. I am all the way for Trump. I will always be for Trump as long as he stays on this path. And anyone who opposes him doesn't get it. That is not okay. Like, that was the epiphany moment for him. So my question is, do you think, and man, we've gone on for a little while here. We're after a half hour now. Do you think it really is going to take, like, Antifa on your doorstep, Mark McCloskey, moments for every single person to come around? Or is there something now that we can do to force that moment for bigger sections of the populace? Because, like, I look at the border, and that's appalling to me. This is a huge wake-up call. And yet some people are just like, well, is it really that? What do you mean, is it really that bad? Like, I know, I'm looking at someone who, I know that you share most of my common values, with faith and family and all these different things, and the Constitution. Why do you not see this? I don't get it. And this is an unfair question to ask you, or you to ask, because each person is very different. It's very interesting, but I kind of wonder, how do we get people to see? How can we bring them there without bringing Antifa to every single one of their doors, which is dangerously too far for me. I don't want it to get that bad before people wholesale say, nope, I'm out. This dude, we got to get this guy back, and he needs to shut down a bunch of federal agencies and go complete Javier Milei and just end him.
Well,
how do we get there?
I mean, I think that they actually have to see it with their own eyes. I don't think it's enough to see it on social media, because even though we know that the things we see on social media are real, like when they're not, like, actually not real. When we see real things on social media and know that they're real, it still doesn't feel real because you're looking at a computer or at a phone. But when you're in New York City and there's migrants killing people and then getting away with it, that's different. When it's like, when you read the news story and you're like, that was 2 streets down from me. Holy cow! That was this police force that I expect to protect me. I think that's what it takes, and you can't get the true believers out of it. You can't, totally unwarp their minds. There's some people that are too far gone, but for a lot of people, like, I was shocked when I saw that super annoying actor Michael Rappaport that's always posting the most obnoxious stuff on social media. But it's like, after seeing this stuff in New York City, he was like, I think we might need Trump, and I was like shocked when I saw that, because this is a man that belongs in a gulag. So it can change people, but it's not enough to. I mean, propaganda is good and important, and we need that. We need that to change people's minds. But it's all the more helpful when they see it with their own eyes and when it affects their day-to-day life, or when it just threatens their day-to-day life.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, and that's where, I guess that's where the action call comes down to you and me. It is time for you and I, you and me, listeners and viewers. It is time for us to really, in full and earnest gear, kick in to, hey everyone, you've got to understand this. Come and take a look with me.
Right.
I mean, we're going to have it. It may be a one-by-one relational pull. Everyone that you have some pull with, some sway with, it's time to really seriously bear down on some of those people who are looking at the field and not understanding why this election, why Donald Trump, why America First, why these things matter so much, because they don't see that the enemy is the actual enemy. They're still looking at the field with 30-year-old, Bush-era glasses,
Right.
or the rose-colored Reagan-era glasses. I saw someone over here in Rumble says something that they want us to go back to Reagan's America, because they did, even Reagan didn't start to attack the deep state. Like these people who think this could really be the glory years, but it was already moving there. It just had not, the wokeism had not reared its ugly head. The Department of Justice wasn't jailing its political opponents just yet. I mean, we've come a little bit farther, but the mechanics were still going. So some of these folks who don't quite see how bad it is and that this machine must be destroyed, not just let's turn back the clock a little bit, this machine must be destroyed. We need someone who's outside the boundaries of normal to do it. We need a group, a movement, people who will understand the field of play. That's up to you and me to convince people of, that we know in that right-wing sphere on the conservative side who just quite haven't gotten over that hump yet, because this is a big one. And like we just saw at the beginning here, the propaganda machine, the narrative machine, is spitting out hatred faster than you and I can even hardly comprehend. And even if it's not necessarily the white rural rage phase isn't going to take over your friends and mine, it is going to have consequences as that ripple effect continues to go down. We're going to get there, even for people who say that, I'm not going to be a part of that. Well, if it permeates society enough, it affects us all. We have to nip it in the bud and stop. Let's just take a Barney Fife quote there. Nip it.
Yeah.
Nip it in the bud. End it now. And it's up to you and me. I don't know another way to do it, because we have to drag people to the threshold of the door and say, look, do you see that?
Right.
That's not okay. We need something drastic.
Right.
There you go. That's my thoughts for today.
Yeah.
Got anything in closing? Or have we pretty much wrapped it up?
I think we've wrapped it up. Yeah, I don't got anything to add. Thanks so much for joining us this week for another Unauthorized Caucus. And we will see, you definitely will see them next week. I might not.
That's right. We're on borrowed time with you, because at any moment he's going to just disappear and become a father. Well, you're already a father.
Right.
I believe you're already a father, but you get to become an active father.
Yes.
Not just caring for your wife, but now getting to hold baby and
Right.
enjoy it too. So, yeah, you'll disappear at a certain point, and then we'll figure out our path forward for a little while you're out. But until next week, I will certainly see you then. Hopefully I'll see you then. You never know. Any moment, poof, gone.
Hopefully not.
Well,
Yeah, I kind of hope not.
hopefully not. We'll see. We'll hang on a little bit longer. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I appreciate you being here. Congrats, everyone says. Ryan having trouble with pronouns. I'm having trouble with pronouns. I get to make up whatever pronouns I want. YouTube audience. Ha! It's 2024. I can say those things. So, signing off. Our pronouns are what? Rabble, Rouser, and
Zeezer.
Patriot Thunder. Okay, fine. Caesar. If you want to go with the weirdo thing, you can. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you next Thursday for another Unauthorized Caucus.